Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Season 2, Episode 7.
Welcome back, friends, for our most Instagram famous episode so far. Today we travel to the big city of Los Angeles, California to sit with a skateboarder taking a bit of a different path to success. You may know him as the triple kickflipping madman Jeff Wansong, but nobody knows how to pronounce your name. Welcome, Jeff.
Dechesare.
Dechesare. So, it's people will be able to follow you easily enough anyways, but how do people follow everything you're doing with your career?
Well, basically, the most active form of social media that I'm on is Instagram, which is just my name, Jeff Dechesare. Jeffdechesare. Instagram is definitely the best way to follow what I'm doing.
It's way too hard to keep up with the different social media platforms. I feel like professionally, if I just stick with one, I can kind of keep up to a certain degree. Like, it's still pretty hard to keep up. But when all of a sudden you're talking about all the other platforms, like YouTube and everything else, because people talk to me about that. They're like, why isn't there a video to the interviews? And I'm like, well, you don't really think about the behind the scenes stuff, but I already put a lot of time and energy into just getting the audio where I want it.
Right.
I like to have good quality video and then have that sync up with the audio when I'm editing out all the ums and ands and all that shit. Like, it's whatever. It's difficult to keep up with.
Yeah. Also, I'm on Facebook, but I don't think anyone uses that anymore. So I didn't bother saying that.
I don't use it. But yeah, I noticed that you are like really good at the Instagram thing, because that's how I got a hold of you, is I just DM'd you and you actually hit me back pretty quick, which was surprising. So people need to, communicate with you. If they see you do a trick or whatever on the Instagram, they should probably hit you up. Give me a rundown quick of like your backstory. We don't need to go into like a million, little details about it, but the quick summary of like where you came from, what do you do?
I'm from Denville, New Jersey, which is a town in northern part of New Jersey, kind of a suburban area, not really near. It's about 45 minutes to an hour away from New York City. Not many things to skate out there. I started skating when I was around 10 years old and just kept doing it. I went to college when I was 18 in Tampa, Florida. I went there for 4 years, and then once I was done with that, I had an opportunity to move to California, and that was about 6 years ago, and here I am now.
What'd you go to school for?
I got a degree in communications.
Oh, perfect. So you're going to be able to do really well with skateboarding after this. Well, because most skateboarders, like they start young or whatever, they drop out of school and they don't really like build any kind of resume or like skill set. And you almost have to have a degree in the or you almost have to have a job in the skateboard industry after your career to like live. Which sucks because, like, you got to think about, well, how, you jump down big shit, right? So, like, how long realistically can you jump down big shit? Reynolds is, like, pushing it harder than everybody, but if you make it to 40 still jumping down big shit and progressing, you're the biggest badass ever.
Oh, dude, trust me. I've been feeling it since I turned about 25. Bones just start aching more and more every day. I already know that day where I can't jump down stuff is coming somewhat soon. I say give it another 5 to 10 years. And
so I keep telling myself, and I don't want to think about it, that I've peaked with my skateboarding because I'm busy with my family, and we did like a couple shop videos, and I was skating really hard during that time frame. Mm-hmm. And then a few years ago when Ave won Skater of the Year, I was like, damn, he was 37, still jumping down big shit and being a badass. I'm like, I should be able to continue to progress until I'm 37 then. I can't be a little about it. Yeah. But yours is different because I feel like you're like Jaws in that way of you just, what you get famous for anyways is just hucking big stair sets and splatting. I would think your knees and stuff are going to be toast pretty quick. But he's my age or something and he's still jumping down 25. So where are you at with skating and stuff at the moment? Like who are like the brands you're affiliated with? Like what are you doing? I know you just came back from like an ankle injury.
Yeah, I broke a bone in my foot about 6 months ago at the barracks, and that was a very annoying injury to come back from, but I feel like I'm 100% now. But anyway, the brands that I ride for are Crux Trucks, Grizzly Grip Tape, Ricta Wheels, Rockstar Bearings. I get flowed by Fallen Shoes. Jarritos, the Mexican drink, in case no one knows who that is. And,
In Wisconsin, they probably don't.
Yeah, I mean,
California people listen. But.
They're everywhere. They're a little more popular in California, but yeah, that La Corda Threads. I think that's it. I hope I didn't leave anyone out.
You don't have a side job or anything, right? You just skate?
Well, kind of. I do work part-time at this kind of like pharmacy place, but it's not like a full-time job. So skating is like my main concern.
Have you always
priority.
been doing just skating then since you moved out here?
No.
How did that transition kind of happen?
Well, I mean, when I first moved out here, I really didn't have any... Well, I had sponsors, but they weren't big or known or anything like that. They couldn't really pay you. But it was definitely appreciate the free product and all that I would get. Just eventually, over time, I mean, as soon as I moved out here, I jumped right into like filming video parts. And actually, when I first moved out here, my Instagram had like less than 1,000 followers. And then I guess I just linked up with the right people who could push me, and somehow social media like took off, and that's kind of how I got known, I guess. And it kind of sucks to say because I kind of hate this idea, but because of my Instagram following, I feel like I got some sponsors that way just because, they saw, a lot of people backing this kid, whatever.
That's kind of how business works, though, man. I mean,
it does, but yeah, I mean, I think back to like the old school way of how people would, get sponsors and turn pro, and it seems so much harder. Just like sending in sponsor tapes, and you may never even hear a reply or anything. Now you can just hit a DM and it's like, oh, check out the link to my footage, and it's so much easier. But yeah, just got some sponsors, and they're pretty supportive. And then also there are a lot more contests out here. Contests are definitely a good financial way to secure your money.
Do you skate a lot of contests?
I don't, but I try to. I like skating best trick type contests more. I'm not really like I don't like putting I do like putting runs together. I can't do it that well. I get like nervous in front of, like, I can do it when I'm skating by myself, but when I'm in front of a lot of people, I don't know, I get the nerves or something. I'm not one of those guys that can just like create a run and then do it every single try in front of however many people.
Skateboarding is such a technical thing. It kind of blows my mind that people even exist that can kind of just like put it out of their minds that people are watching. Yeah. Like I can't skate in front of anybody. Anytime I just go to a new park that I don't know the people, maybe it's partially because I'm from a fairly small town that like if I go to the skate park, I probably know everybody personally. So I'm never embarrassed when I'm warming up or anything. But whenever I go to a new park, I swear to God, it takes me an hour to skate anything less than what embarrasses me anyways. So like skating in front of people, I've skated a few contests and stuff growing up, but just like the little local ones. And even those, I'm falling on like all the easy shit because I'm all shaky and nervous and stuff. Versus like when we film, like if we're filming a part or filming tricks or whatever in the street, I feel like I'm just way more motivated when the camera comes out. Like I'm not shaky or anything. I'm just like, okay, I'm ready for it. I'm like more hyped or something. It just works better for me.
Yeah, I mean, most likely you're with some homies or something, people you're comfortable with, at a contest, you don't know who's watching you.
Yeah, and I just hate that there's like, I just don't like the idea of a contest in general. Like I don't want it to be like super competitive I mean, I get that it exists and it can push skateboarding and the Olympics will be good for the industry, but I don't like to compare my skateboarding to other people.
Yeah, I feel like skateboarding is a subjective thing. Like, who's to say whose run was better? I mean, it's just...
That's going to be the big argument with the Olympics when all of a sudden a ton of money and stuff is on the line. It's going to be... People are... I mean, you look at, like, how... There's been scandals and stuff with ice skating and stuff, how people are like, oh, this couple should have won versus this couple in the Olympics because countries get so, you know what I mean? Like the politics behind it, they get so involved. It's going to be interesting to see skateboarding when Nyjah kickflips versus Shane or somebody and like who gets scored better.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a gnarly like scoring bracket for that. But
I was talking to Andrew Cannon and he said that it's possible that he's going to like be with Team USA.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like
he judges a street league contest, I think, right?
That's what I'm saying, and I was like, that would be so sick. I've been to Tokyo before, but like,
oh wow,
on a business trip, that would be so tight.
Yeah.
So, who are some of like the people that you look up to, whether it's like in your life or in skateboarding? For me, like my all-time hero in skateboarding is Andrew Reynolds, but I've never skated like him at all. So, the two favorite skaters of mine are Bobby Worst and Johnny Layton.
Oh, that's cool. That's kind of random, but I mean they're both super good. It's just those are like kind of two different skaters. But
They both just have a lot of power in their skateboarding, which I think is what I like about it, because John Dixon's the same way.
Yeah, for sure. Isn't John Dixon's from up where you're from, kind of?
Yeah, he's from Antioch, which is really random because that's where my parents are from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like my parents grew up in the same town that he's from.
Crazy. But yeah, as far as people I look up to, I'd say that Brian Herman has been my favorite skater since I was about 11 or 12 years old. It's been on and off, but like pretty much it's been my favorite skater for a long time. And I don't know, to be honest, when I first started skating, it was like the group of friends that I would skate with every day, because I was just starting to skate, and to me those people were like pro skaters to me right now. Like I was like, oh my god, how do you do that trick? Blah, 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 blah. I need to learn that. And it was just, I don't know, it was just amazing. Yeah, I mean, those are probably the major influences in my life for skating anyway.
Anybody outside of skateboarding that you look up to?
Just anyone who stays true to themselves and stands up for what they believe in. I look up to anyone who can do that.
Thankfully, in America, it's a little easier than it used to be. Like, there's still oppression and all kinds of other things going on, but I feel like with the internet, it's a little bit easier to be yourself in some ways versus others, but in the ways of like, you can be whatever you want to be because somewhere out there, there's people that identify similarly. You know what I mean? There's like-minded people versus when we were growing up, because we're about the same age, you know, you skated with the other people that skated, but that was kind of it. Yeah. Like, you had to fit in within that group. And if you didn't fit in, then you were made fun of or whatever. And it made it a little bit more difficult to be yourself. But as you get older, number one, you don't care as much what people think of you. But also, like, with the day and age of the internet and stuff, I think that's changed a little bit.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to try not to talk about skateboarding the whole time, but you got to explain this to me because I've only seen a few people do these, and you have like a bunch of different versions, but 360 hard flips, right? So like any of these like tricks you just don't see because on flat ground, they're like fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do you learn... People ask this, I'm sure, all the time to you, but like, how do you learn the triple flips, the 360 inward heels, the send it, like whip your skateboard and land on a thing?
That's a pretty common one, but I think the first kind of weird trick I learned, different, whatever you want to call it, was the 360 inward heel, just because I remember this exactly. So my stepdad, he has this like beach house in Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere, like nothing to skate at all. And my mom would always want to go there like during the summertime when I was younger. And I'd go just because I'm like, oh, whatever, I don't got anything to do. And the only thing at his house to skate, I didn't even have flat ground to skate. The only thing I had was a 2-stair off of the deck of his house. And the only thing I would do to entertain myself was like, I would learn every flip trick I could off that 2-stair. And then it got to a point where I did every flip trick I can do on flat ground off the 2-stair. I'm like, all right, what's next? Maybe I can do a trick that I can't even do on flat ground off of here. And then I was like, I wonder what would happen if I spun an inward heel like a 360 flip. And like, I really didn't expect it to work, but it somehow just went when I tried it. I'm like, oh, wow, I think I can do that. And then like a couple tries later, I just like landed one. I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, I'm sure other people have done this before. I just did that one like that one time, and then eventually like months later I was like, you know what, maybe I can do that trick off something bigger. And then when I started doing it off like legitimate sized stairs, that's when kind of started getting a little bit of attention, like, holy shit, dude, wow, I've never seen anyone do this. And I'm like, really? Wow, that's odd. And then I just kept doing them because they were fun.
So there are tricks that you can do off stuff but not on flat.
Dude, most of the tricks I do, I can't do on flat.
I've grown up with kids that like learned how to kickflip off curbs first type thing. And I don't know if it's just like the scared barrier for me or something, but I just picture my ankles folding. I'm one of those people that I have to catch whatever the trick is. I have to catch it perfectly like 3 times kicking it away before I commit to one.
Yeah.
I like can't just send it or something. I don't know. I can't do that for whatever reason.
Well, I've obviously never been one of those kids.
You made a career out of it. But so I was talking or listening to an interview, maybe it was the 9 Club or something. I think that's what it was, with Andrew Reynolds. Because like I said, I've listened to all the interviews to be fair. But yeah. Reynolds is like my all-time hero. So I was listening to his interview and he was talking about how, like the frontside flip thing, right? Like everyone knows him for his frontside flips because he's got the best frontside flips. And how he was talking to Ian Williams about like accepting that you're the heel flip dude. Like that's a thing, right?
Yeah, so, I remember hearing that.
Right, exactly. So I think you kind of have to, Like, ultimately, I was talking to Andrew about this. In order to be a professional or, like, in general, make a career out of skateboarding, you have to have something marketable about yourself. And it's either, like, the way you dress, like Stephen Lawyer with his 3-color camo pants. You know what I mean? You have to have something recognizable about yourself and kind of play to that a little bit, because you have to find where your niche is. And obviously, nobody else is doing, well, other people can do them, but you're the dude who's just known for doing the triple kickflips and the nollie inward 360 heels and whatever down big, big stuff. Do you kind of purposely play to that then?
To be honest with you, no. I don't even think that's marketable. I just do those tricks because they're fun. And, like, yeah, it's cool that I guess no one else really does them. But if people just started doing them out of nowhere, I'd think that's awesome. Like, yeah. I want people to do those tricks. But,
you want to be the dude who sees a kid at the skate park learning 360 inward heels and going, dude, I'm learning that because I watched you do them.
Dude, yeah, I have kids who, like, send me videos and I'm like, dude, I did a triple flip because of you. And, like, I think that's awesome. I'm like, thanks. I don't think I'm the first person who did a triple flip ever, but thank you for thinking of me while you did it.
Yeah, it's not like, that's the thing. It's not about like who did it first, right? Like Reynolds hasn't done the biggest frontside flip ever, and he didn't do the first frontside flip ever, but that's the trick that, like, everybody, when you say frontside flip, yeah, that's what people know him for sure. But I saw, like, somebody was talking about it or something, but you did a nollie flip the other day that you shiftied a whole bunch. You know what I mean? And then people are like, oh, do more of those, and then everyone's going to be talking about you. I'm like, well, you could, but, like, there's already, like, Tyshawn does that trick. Yeah. Like, everyone already knows him for that trick. I feel like to set yourself apart, you have to have something different about you. But that's the same way with this podcast, too. Like, if this was just another skateboarding podcast, like, why would that many people want to listen to it?
Yeah, I mean,
they probably wouldn't. They would want to listen to, what Roger Bagley's putting together with the Nine Club, because he's way more professional about it. But if you can find your niche, like whatever it is that you're doing that people attach to, sometimes you can feel blown out, when you're doing it, because you're like, well, I like doing other stuff, but sometimes you have to play that a little bit, I think, for it to, like, make sense. And on, like, the business side of it, I know you're talking about how, like, people used to have to send in videos and stuff, and, like, why would sponsors want to hook people up via Instagram and things like that? But, sponsors want to pay people. Ultimately, you're an advertising tool. That's, like, what the point of it is, when it gets down to, like, the numbers of it. And it's based on how many people are watching what you're doing. So that's how your contracts are built. That's why Nigel makes so much money, because of his contest winnings, but realistically because his Nike shirt and shoes are on ESPN all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he gets all that coverage. But Instagram's the same way. It's just you don't have to go through anybody else. You're just, like, your own platform of people that watch you, which is kind of tight, because then you can just be yourself too. You don't have to, like, approve a photo. You know what I mean? You don't have to send something in through Fallen and make sure it gets approved for whatever they're trying to do. You can just do things the way you want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think Instagram's good. They're great for that you can just, nowadays, you can just market yourself. You don't have to depend on the company to do it, because if it was up to the companies to post my videos and photos, you wouldn't have seen half the stuff that's on there.
That's the unfortunate part for everybody. It's crazy to me that people like Wes Kramer still exist in the skateboarding world without having social media nowadays. That anyone's even able to do it. And it's unfortunate to think about, and people praise them a lot for it, right? Because that's, like, the cool thing to do. But since he doesn't use social media, I feel like he probably doesn't, like, financially make as much as he would otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it almost hinders the career, not within, like, the respect of the skateboard industry, but, like, as a whole.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, he already made it before social media played in the picture, really, so he probably just feels like there's no need to even have it. I feel like Instagram's more of a tool for people who are just coming up right now, or whenever it came out, but he was already established by the time that came out.
True.
He probably just doesn't want to deal with all the bullshit either, because as great as a tool that Instagram can be, there's a lot of unnecessary drama that one might have to deal with.
Well, I imagine, especially as you gain more and more of a following, you get positives and negatives, but you get a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah.
What's been one of your favorite things, though, through the social media? Because I notice you post a trick and you got, 100 people that comment you're the best person. You know what I mean? It must feel good to read that. But what are some of your favorite things about how the Instagram thing works for you?
Oh, definitely getting feedback on the tricks that I do, because I didn't necessarily have that when I was growing up, so I didn't know, like, what was cool or not, or good or whatever. And now I kind of have it's definitely like made me progress in skating a lot more. Just seeing like what types of things that people like or they don't like. It's gave me a better outlook on just, I don't know, like more acceptable type of tricks that people would in the industry would like. But I don't know, to be honest with you, before social media, I didn't even know that like triple kick flips and 360 hard flips and stuff are like kind of looked down upon as like weird tricks. I thought, like, in my head I was like, oh wow, no one does these tricks, they must be super cool and hard. But now it's like I hear like, oh, no one does those tricks because they're ugly, no one wants to do them. And I'm like, oh well, I didn't know that, but they look cool to me. So
yeah, that's the funny thing with skateboarding, that like as a kid I feel like I cared so much more. You know what I mean? Because in general, you care about what your peers and what people think. But skateboarding, like, as inclusive and as awesome as it is, you also have that weird flip side of, like, people are so, I don't know, not flippant. I don't know what word I'm looking for. But people are a little bit ridiculous about what's cool, what isn't cool. They're, like, kind of cliquey and funny and stuff. I don't really understand why it's like that. Or maybe that's just the social media talking. But
yeah, to me, I don't think any skateboard tricks are not cool. I think they're all cool. I mean, if you're a skateboarder, you should just appreciate everything that you can do.
I think what's cool is the ride away. If you can tell that somebody is stoked on whatever it is that they just did, like, that's what's cool to me. It doesn't really matter whether or not the trick was good, to a certain degree. I mean, you could do something gnarly and it's cool. But I just love, like, when you see somebody land something and, you know, it's overly done in videos now, but where they're riding away and, like, Gabriel Summers just throwing his hat off like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, you'll hear some people and naysayers be like, oh yeah, cheering for yourself. But dude, that's my favorite moment, because that's when you're like, this is what skateboarding is about, is celebrating with your friends and just, like, having a great time. I like to tell people a lot when, like, the Olympic thing comes up, because people will ask me that. They're like, oh yeah, you own a shop, so what's your opinion on it? And I'm like, well, skateboarding is about fun, and it's not a sport, in my opinion. In my opinion, skateboarding is a lifestyle, right? And yes, you do compete, and yes, you do try to improve, but my favorite parts about skateboarding aren't always, like, riding the skateboard. It's, like, celebrating with my friends and going out and exploring new places, and, like,
even if you didn't do the trick, maybe your friend did something that was really cool, and you know, you're celebrating with him.
Dude, I'm more excited to talk about, like, my friends' tricks than I am mine. You know what I mean? Like, we did a shop video, and I don't ride for my store, obviously. Like, I just own the shop and I sponsor all the kids in the area. Yeah. But I had tricks in it and stuff. So I got to be there with, like, a lot of the tricks that happened. Yeah. And I'm more excited to see those dudes land stuff than it is when I land something.
Totally, yeah. I mean, when you got a good group of friends, it's definitely motivating to see them, you know, land something super sick or something that was super hard for them and finally get it. And yeah, I agree. That's one of the best parts of skating, for sure.
Who are some of the homies that you typically skate with? Who's, like, I know you, like, in Nija interviews, he talks about Chase Webb as, like, the dude he jumps down rails with. Who are some of the people you jump down shit with?
It's funny you actually bring this up, because I was just talking about this the other day. A lot of my friends that I skated with when I first moved out here, they don't really skate as much anymore. As far as right now, I have a friend. His name is Olivier Lucero. His Instagram is EA Skate. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
Nope, but I'll look him up.
Yeah, he's not gnarly dude. He skates, like, a lot of big rails. And what stokes me out about him, he had ACL surgery a little over a year ago. And even before that, he was just, like, suffering with it for a year. So he's basically been off the board for about 2 years. And he's just getting back into skating right now. And he's, like, killing it. Like, it's super motivating to see someone who's been off the board for that long and then just dive into, like, going gnarly again. So that's someone that I like to skate with.
Yeah, I've never heard of him, but watching him just right now, this dude's heavy. Who's he, like, ride for?
He's, like, flow for Darkstar, and I think that's Darkstar and, like, Wreck Wheels, and I think that's...
So he's, super unknown.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he has, like, 30K followers. That's decent.
You know what that is, but I mean, as far as, like, not unknown, but you know what I mean.
He's not, like, a pro.
Right, right.
He should be.
Yeah, dude, he's...
No, like, those are just Instagram things. You should check out his video parts, man. He's, like, crazy good.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. ACLs, I'm so glad I never had a knee problem.
Dude, knees are gnarly.
I have so many, like, my best friend I grew up with, that he was always, like, a little bit better than me, you know? But he was the person I always skated with. His name's Damian Kirchhoff. He had a couple tricks, like, in my shop video part that I did. He fucking tore his ACL when we were, like, 16 or something. And then I think he ended up having 3 surgeries on it.
Jesus.
And now he just had surgery on it again. and he like never even skates. He finally tried to get back into skating, and like flat ground nollie heel popped it again. It's just
Oh my God. Yeah, Olivier is definitely one of the most motivated people I've ever met. It's crazy. I mean, I was talking to him the whole time throughout the process, and he like never like had a bit of negative. He never had anything negative to like say about his experience. He was just like, yeah, dude, I mean, I'll be back soon enough. Like, I'm going to start, like, he had all these tricks in mind that he wants to do and spots he wants to skate, and just, I think that's the key to like getting back on your board and to where you were, just being positive about it, not thinking about the negative stuff that's going on.
I feel like that's the key to success in everything with life.
Definitely.
And it's just like hard to do. You know what I mean?
It's extremely hard to do. I'm not gonna lie. I used to be a very pessimistic person, but then I realized that wasn't getting me anywhere. And my girlfriend actually, well, a couple people, but mainly my girlfriend kind of changed my ways and just, you know, made me come to realize that was not the right thing to do. And she was totally right. And I used to bash people so much. I'm like, oh, what do you know? Like, who cares what way I think? It's all about what you get done, but you're not going to get anything done if that's the way you think. So to anyone out there who's a fellow pessimistic person, don't dwell on the negative. Even if you're in a very negative situation, try to think of anything positive in that and just dwell on that, and then it'll eventually grow into more positive things. I promise you. I promise that will happen.
So, Jeff, I was just talking to you off mic. I love scuba diving. Like, you got to have more to your life than just skateboarding. What are some of the other things you really enjoy doing?
Like, man, to be perfectly honest, there's really not that much. But I mean, I hang out with my girlfriend a lot. We do stuff like bowling, mini golf, little random activities like that. I used to go out to bars and stuff, but I don't know. I don't find much fun in drinking like that anymore.
I think drinking for me is like just a social thing. And once you're settled down, like once you have a chick and stuff, there's not as much benefit to it.
That's what I'm saying. Like my girlfriend, she's actually the one that would be like, oh, let's go out. And I'm like, why? We're right here. We can just get like a bottle or something. She's like, you're right. And then we'll just end up staying home and way happier than like wasting a bunch of money at a bar or something.
Yeah, I found that like tabletop board games are super fun when you're like drinking with friends. That tends to be like, that's how mine has transitioned, is we don't go to bars anymore, but like they'll come over and we'll play like Monopoly or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But drinking in Monopoly with your friends is like such a cool atmosphere. I don't know.
Dude, it's funny you say that, because like a week or two ago, my girlfriend was like, oh, let's get a board game. And we went to the store, we're looking at them. And when I was younger, I don't know, my parents, they're super intelligent. Like, I just remember them playing Scrabble a lot. And I was like, oh, let's get that. She's like, what's that? I've never played it. And we got it, and we played it while we were drunk, and it was like, it was like the longest game ever. It was the worst. Could not think of words while we were drunk. But
that's what makes it fun, dude.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, realistically, alcohol is just like a social lubricant. And when you're looking to make more friends, or a lot of times when you're looking for a significant other, the bar is like a great place for that. But once you settle down and that's not what your goal is, like you're not trying to go out and find some girl, then yeah, there's not a whole lot of reason to be out. You're just going to sit at the bar talking to the one person anyways. Like,
unless you're an alcoholic.
Well, yeah, I suppose. But if you're an alcoholic, can you really afford to go out all the time? I can't.
That's true.
So we were talking about self-awareness a little bit, and I mentioned that book to you. I've mentioned it on the podcast before. There's another book, too, that I think is really helpful. That's called The Way of the Warrior. One of my shop writers told me
I know
about
that
it.
book.
Oh, did you read that book?
I never read it, but I know
Oh,
I know of the book. Yeah.
Dude, it's good. I like really suggest like reading it. One of my shop dudes is gnarly. He's super good. And he told me to read it because that's his favorite book. And I just skated better after it.
Really?
Yeah. Basically, like, it's a novel, but it was written by a self-help professor. Like, that's the point of the book, is to be a self-help book, but it's not written in that way. It's written in like a novel format. But in it, like, it teaches you breathing techniques and stuff. And like through reading it, it just taught me some practices to do when I was skating.
Yeah.
And I just skated better after I read it.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like I said, using the breathing practices and stuff, it like teaches you to picture what you're doing, and it describes like how to do it basically. And when I took that to my skating, I just like landed tricks quicker. I don't know, it helped with my focus and stuff.
Damn, that's so cool. I should definitely read that. I forget who suggested that book to me. Maybe Nigel Alexander or something. You know who that is?
He's like a YouTube filmer or something.
Yeah, he's a filmer. He's big on YouTube. But yeah, that's like when I first moved out here, that was the guy I used to skate with the most. And then I don't know, we just kind of went separate ways. But yeah, I think he was the one that told me to read that book, because he would see like, now that you tell me what it's about, it makes sense, because he'd see me like stress out on tricks so much, and it sounds like to me that book kind of helps you not stress out when you're trying tricks. Yeah,
well, that's basically what it is. The one, like, so here's the one thing, and this will help to anybody that listens, that stuck with me from the book anyways, was, so in the book, the dude's like a gymnast or whatever, which isn't related to skateboarding, but whatever. So he's trying to do whatever he's trying to do. Well, in it basically describes, like, before you try what you are going to try, whatever that may be, and it doesn't have to be skateboarding, stop, close your eyes, take a deep breath using your stomach, like breathe in, breathe out. And then what I do is I picture a stoplight in my mind, and I like know what trick I'm going to do. I can see myself landing it, and I wait for the stoplight, and I watch it go through its cycle, right? It's sitting on red. I watch it turn to green, and then I'm like ready.
That's so sick.
It's kind of weird, and it's hard when you're skating with other people, because, you know, you're kind of like going at a certain pace or something. But doing that, it just like got myself breath and everything. Like I'm just where I need to be before I try it. And for whatever reason, I skate way better when I do that than when I'm just like rushing through stuff.
I'm definitely gonna have to try that.
Yeah, it helps. It helps with focus. So I asked this in every episode, which you're gonna have to go back and listen to episodes now, because I really think you'd like the show. Okay. I'll suggest some to you. But I asked this on every episode because people like us, we're pursuing careers based on our passion, so we don't really have the same trajectory that a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. You know, like we don't get excited because it's whatever, casual Friday. Like you have like different experiences that are pretty rad. And like me sitting here, we're sitting in your girlfriend's in your bedroom, like on the floor recording this, which is kind of random that happened through my job, you know. But I ask everyone to share an experience that they're really thankful happened to them, but it only happened because they chose to pursue something they were passionate about.
Okay. I'm going to tell the audience the one that was probably the most beneficial to me continuing skateboarding. So back when I lived in New Jersey, a few months before I graduated high school, about to go to college, I was getting worried. I was thinking like, oh man, if I go to college, am I really going to skate that much anymore? Am I going to have time? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like really, really worried. And I'm like, am I even like good at this? Like, I mean, I know I can do tricks, but like, can I go anywhere with this? And I was like having so many second thoughts, doubts, all this stuff to continue skateboarding. I had like a shop sponsor, but they went out of business. So I had like no sponsors or anything like that. And what I would do, before I had Instagram, I treated YouTube kind of how I treat Instagram. Like I wasn't a YouTuber or a vlogger or any of that, because that didn't really exist when I was 16, 17. But I would upload like a clip on my YouTube every single day just to get feedback from my friends and stuff like that. And eventually, I remember this, it was on April Fool's Day, April 1st. So I already thought this was a huge joke, but Plan B Skateboards, they messaged me on YouTube, and I saw that, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, Plan B Skateboards. I thought it was like some fake account, and they're like, check your email. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Check my email, and then it was, I don't know who wrote it. They sent an email saying they like my skating, and they sent a video along with that of P-Rod. I still have the video on my phone to this day, and it's probably somewhere on my Instagram too. But it was just a video of P-Rod being like, Jeff Wan, we need to speak to you. We've been watching your stuff. Sick stuff, man. It's us trying to contact you. No April Fools. No joke. And I was like, that was literally insane to me. I thought I was dreaming. I didn't think it was real. And I remember that was like probably the only time I've ever like cried tears of joy of being so happy. I was like, holy shit, this is a sign. Like, I need to keep skating. I need to keep doing it. Like people, like there are people out there who are important that care about what I'm doing. I need to pursue this. So I still went to college and everything, but while I was in college, I did everything to skate as much as I could still. And if P-Rod hadn't sent me that video, hadn't started flowing me Plan B boards, helping me out with like Nike shoes and stuff like that, I don't know if I would have pursued skating the way I did. So that was definitely one of the coolest things that ever happened to me through skateboarding.
P-Rod's a legend. That's
Dude.
pretty fucking sick to like know that I feel like, so I had something kind of similar with Nesser. You know, Steve Nesser's like the biggest badass ever from my zone, especially.
Yeah.
And after my shop opened, he drove out to my store to deliver some boards and like kick it, introduce himself. And I'm like, dude, I know who you are. You know what I mean? But just to be like, oh, that's a cool shop and stuff. But in that, like, I don't know if it meant that much to him, but to me, you know, anyways, like I looked up to him for such a long time. Well, I still do. Yeah. But like those recognition moments, you're like, oh my God. Like my friends and family, I feel like you probably think the same. Your friends and family around you, like know how much you care about skateboarding to a degree, but they can't fully understand it unless they've done it like you did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the
Totally.
time and energy you put in, they're just like, oh yeah, you really like it. And you're like, dude, it's so much more than you realize. So when you see somebody that you look up to that knows the struggles and knows how much you care, because they obviously care just as much, it's that recognition that's so cool. And that's like with skateboarding too. Whenever you go to a park or something and you see somebody else, that's where that connection comes from.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We all got that same connection. We all know the struggles of everyday skateboarding.
That's one thing that I thought that was exclusive to skateboarding. Like for some reason in my mind, like that was a thing of skateboarders, and it is. Yeah. But that's like every industry. Which is the really cool part is like if you get into like, you know, like I was talking about diving. Now, anytime I end up talking with somebody who also dives, I'm like, we need to drink a beer and like talk about this.
Have a bond.
Yeah, there's like so much to talk about. It's rad. All right, so I'm kind of like going to run out. I think I'm going to take this opportunity to stop giving examples from my life because for the first couple seasons, that's what I was doing. I'd have each of us share an experience, and I have shared a lot of experiences by now. And I also end every episode with a piece of advice, whether it's like career related or life related, just something that you felt like you learned throughout this time. Not that everybody gives a shit what you have to say, but hopefully somebody finds it helpful. But I've ran out of gems because this is like the 21st episode, so I don't want to keep talking out of my ass. But I'm going to have you end the episode with whatever piece of advice that you have for people.
Piece of advice? I mean, yeah, skateboarding's taught me a lot of things, but any advice that I give to people out there is just be yourself. Don't try to be anything that you're not, because it's not going to work, and people are going to see through that easily. And also just be grateful for anything that you can get out of whatever your passion may be. Like even if it's not something physical, not something tangible, something you can't touch, if it's just a lesson or something, if that's the only thing you ever get from pursuing your passion, just be grateful for that, because you probably wouldn't have learned that or gotten whatever that may be through anything else. So that's my lesson.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, look at like your drink sponsors and stuff. Like there are so many really cool people out there that if you're willing to be open to accept their help or to accept their feedback and appreciate them, there's so many cool people out there.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.